so much for tuning in. If this is your first time, my name is Marie with the Modern Day Vet podcast, where we bridge the gap between military moving over to the civilian sector. Today, we're going to do another interview. This is season 2, episode 2. So it's pretty awesome, from a little vision of like, hey, I just want to help people out, to I am recording season 2 now. So this is one of my mentors from Bahrain. We had served in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. My memory is really bad. And then we were actually in San Antonio together, but we had 2 completely different billets. I'll let him talk, but I think he was an instructor, if I'm not mistaken, for A school. And I was going to school for X-ray training. So we would see each other, but we weren't in the same building or anything. But I'll have him introduce himself and we'll go from there.
Hello, fellow vets. My name is Cornelius Brothers, and I have the distinct honor and pleasure of being with, as you know, your fabulous host. So thank you, first of all, for giving me an opportunity to talk and share my experiences on your podcast. You are absolutely correct. I got to Bahrain in 2012, March, I believe, and you were already there. And I believe I left the following May, and you was still there. And as we know how that goes. But yes, in our time together, I learned a lot from you. I know it's always, you're thinking, oh, well, that's my mentor, be able to teach me some things. But that's the beautiful part of mentorship that I found is, you may think you're the mentor in certain situations, but oftentimes your mentee challenges you with their unique experiences and helps to broaden your toolbox. So, yeah, and as you know, being overseas, you have that extended family and things like that. So it was really nice to have the opportunity to learn from you, to grow with you, and then to see you blossom and grow into where you are right now is absolutely just, does my heart good. So congratulations to you and all that you've accomplished since the last time I saw you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to start with the years that you served. So what year did you join? I know it's probably like in elementary school, but we're going to have you the year you joined.
Don't do that.
And the year you got out.
All right. I actually I joined the military in 1996. Actually, I was in delayed entry for a year.
I wasn't even in elementary school.
Don't do that. See, I'm starting to have a breakup on this connection. I'm about to hang this thing up. But no, 1996, I was in delayed entry. I actually joined the military the summer before my high school, senior year of high school. So that senior year was pretty chill, knowing I knew exactly where I was going to go and what I was going to do. So that was a blessing in itself. Went to boot camp I graduated high school at May 28th, 1997. A week later, I was in Navy boot camp, standing in line in sweatsuit, bald head, with P-Days and Smurfs, just like everybody else, right? Met some amazing people, during that time. People I'm still friends with, believe it or not, to this day. We met in boot camp and we still rock pretty tight. So again, one of the other beautiful things about just being in the military relationships. But after that, after boot camp, went to Corps School right across the street. Unfortunately, we were the first class of the unified Corps School, because they had just shut down San Diego when I got there. So we were the first class where everybody had to go to Great Lakes. Graduated there, went to my first duty station in Atlanta at a reserve. I was a TAR or FTS when I was enlisted. So we'll always work with reservists. I was at reserve bases, reserve centers. I worked just with the reserve component my entire enlisted time. So I know a lot of active duty people are going to hear that and they're going to want to slap me because you're one of them people who ain't never been on a ship and ain't never go overseas. Yep. I'm the one. I'm the guy. I'm the one they talk about. The one who did 21 years and barely even got overseas when I met you. But yeah, I was in Atlanta where I kind of cut my teeth as a corpsman, working records, working primary care, working health and wellness, doing all that outpatient clinic stuff, giving M's and shots and all that good stuff. And then my next duty station ended up in Tampa, Florida at a reserve center, which for me was home. I joke all the time that a lot of people join the military to travel. I was a military brat growing up, so I joined the military to go home. And that's exactly what happened. I was in Atlanta for 3-4 years, and that was only, 4 or 5 hour drive to the house. to see my grandma. And then I was stationed right at home where my grandmother was in Tampa for another 3 to 4 years. Both my kids were born there in Tampa. It was then that I decided I was kind of, you get on that fence when you're around 7, 8, okay, am I going to make this a career thing, or, is this going to be a one and done? And after we had that, my wife got pregnant with our second baby. I was like, yep, looks like it's going to be a career, because I didn't have a degree at that time. I didn't have any of that. So wanted to do the wise and prudent thing. So definitely staying in was the option. And I always felt that if I was going to stay in long term, that I was going to get a commission. So I started looking at different programs, MSc officer, nurse corps, all these different, programs, supply corps. And I didn't even know what nurses did, to be honest with you, being an FTS or a TAR corpsman. I didn't really work with any nurses. We had a clinic nurse, but that's not really a nursing, big function of what nurses truly do. So I didn't know a lot about that, and was blessed enough to have a good friend of mine. Shout out to Mr. Reginald Middlebrooks. I think he's probably like a commander or a captain or something by now, man. Just always a solid guy. We came in, we was in corps school together, first duty station together. And he happened to be stationed. He got his commission through ROTC, out of our first duty station in Atlanta. So he happened to be in Bethesda at the time. So he was like, "Man, come up, work on the ward with me." I was the first class at the time. We had moved to Jacksonville. I was there for a year, and I was there for probably about 3 months. And I put in my package. I ended up making first class. I had put in my package, and I wanted to, again, before I submitted, I wanted to see what nurses did. And also, it was she was a commander Petrovani at the time. Ended up becoming a captain. Big wig in the Navy circles. If you're in the Navy Nurse Corps, amazing mentor for me. The entire time, really kind of got me started. Got my commission, long story short, or long story long, as they say. I ended up getting my commission after going to nursing school at a University of South Alabama in Mobile, Alabama. First duty station was San Diego, California. Learned so much about the Navy, so much about nursing, so much about healthcare. In those 3 years while out there, I got to work with a lot of wounded warriors. We were kind of give you an idea of what our mission was. It was doing, enduring freedom and Iraqi freedom. So we used to get a lot of the casualties of war, people who gotten, blown
Were you
up,
in
had
Balboa?
amputations and things like that. I was, absolutely,
Okay.
on 4 East, which I think they end up moving to 5 West or something like that, the Wounded Warrior Ward. But they got their own ward eventually. But at the time, it was 4 East, all post-surgical med surge. And again, I just got a chance to meet a lot of really good people, or a lot of my patients and their family members. Just created a lot of bonds. I just learned a lot. And so then it just kind of, got the wheels turning of what I wanted to do after, not even after the military, but kind of after the on the ward nursing thing. And I ended up going and doing, my wife was looking for a job at the time. And so it was like, going overseas is probably not a good look in terms of her trying to get a job. So we ended up moving to Chicago, Great Lakes, great mistakes, as you know, the first time.
Great mistakes. Jesus.
Good old RTC.
Bad memories.
And yeah, oh man, memories. It was something. It was something. It's just a machine. It's a grind, as you know. So that's where I was at before I came to Bahrain, and just working ship sit call. And at the time, I had aspirations of becoming a nurse practitioner. But after seeing just the grind, and granted, you seeing blisters and toe jam and just shin splints and runny noses all day long. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an introduction into what a nurse practitioner would do, but not really. But even that was enough for me. I was like, nah, seeing patients is not my jam. That's not going to work out well for me. But I did start to teach. I started to teach, I've always taught when I was, enlisted, BLS, CPR, that kind of stuff, smoking cessation. But I started to teach more things in terms of leadership and Lean Six Sigma projects and things like that. So it really kind of sparked that teaching aspect. I always felt that I taught, but this was really more formal. So that kind of piqued my interest, and I ended up going over to the FHCC, good old right across the train tracks, for the second half of that tour. For the second half of the tour, yeah, and doing education and training. So I was a division officer over there, department head for a little bit in education and training when I got my orders to come to Bahrain, where I was the clinic manager. Learned a ton. I had been working in clinics. But to actually be the clinic manager and to, have to deal with third next available, all these different metrics and provider schedules, and just, you put out fires all day long. Your job was to simply, hey, there's going to be issues with the schedule. There's going to be patients that ain't happy. There's going to be doctors who ain't happy. Your job is to fix it. So, and then, I would stay after hours and do all the charting, all of the paperwork and stuff. But that assignment taught me a lot about myself, being unaccompanied, being in a foreign country, being in a Muslim country. Taught me a lot about empathy, taught me a lot about just religion in general. Picked up some amazing experiences with the people there. As I said, even working with you, and a lot of, oh man, phenomenal mentors. I normally don't name drop, but I think I got to give certain people that do, because oftentimes I'll start naming people and then somebody gonna see this, like, oh, why you ain't say me? Like, come on, man, don't do me like that. But I think she's a captain now as well. Jacqueline Williams, just an amazing, amazing person.
She definitely is a
who
captain.
I think, to this day. Yeah, no doubt. And I wouldn't be. She could be admiral if she wanted to be. Like she is just heart of gold. So I definitely appreciate her. So left Bahrain. And I will tell you the one thing in terms of benefits and things like that. The military really did set me up for success going forward, especially being in Bahrain, because as they pay over there. That money is nice, like for real. That tax-free money that hazardous duty pay, all of it. I'm like, yeah, I need it all. And so that started my trend of I need all the entitlements.
So you got it all pretty and stuff, but after I hit my second year, probably like 2 months in, they took that shit away, and it was like an extra like $400 or $500. And they took it out. Like it wasn't considered a hazardous duty station anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? But yes, they took it away at my second year.
See, I got out while the getting was good. So you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Yes.
So, and it was good I left because the souk was getting all my money anyway. I was down there every weekend buying clothes. So it was probably best that I left, but to be honest with you, it gave me a chance to save money, for a down payment. Even though we were going to use the VA, I wanted to make sure that we had enough money, saved up. All of our debt and stuff was taken care of because, we used the VA for our home here. This was actually the third home we purchased on active duty. I purchased one in Tampa when we moved there, used VA loan, sold that house. This is when the housing market was booming back in 2003 is when we sold that one. Bought another house in with the profits from that one, pretty much rolled it into the house we bought in Jacksonville. And in 2005, the market crashed. So we got stuck holding the bag on that one and ended up having to go through that whole thing. But then was able to get into this home here, no problem. So once we left Bahrain, came here, I knew this was going to be the Twilight tour. I was on the phone with the detailer, like, look, it's got to be either Florida or Texas. Wife told me she don't want to go nowhere cold, so that's what it's going to be. So every month, the first 2 months I was there, I was calling the detailer. They were like, nope, I don't have anything. Nope, don't have what you're looking for. I'm like, all right, I'll wait. And I was like, to be real, I got here in March, but I can extend all the way to August if need be, because my kids don't start school until then anyway. And I'm not going to pull them out of school for a month to go transfer anyway. So that opened up the May window, and that's why I transferred May 1st. Because I was able to get into the schoolhouse down here in San Antonio. Good old, come full circle, good old BMTCP. Which is, formerly known as Core School. At the time, it was merged where we had Air Force and Navy, same classroom, same building, same everything. That lasted for about, I guess, a year and a half. And they were like, yeah, the missions are just too different. So we end up, kind of splitting towards the end of my tour there. But, I was in A school. So when all my C school students, Pete Gruninger came actually through there too, doing PMT, I believe. So it was so good. And again, I get to see my babies. I'm like, man, look at y'all growing up and doing big things in the world, making this Navy thing happen.
So I guess
that was always good.
They split A school only because we still had the whole mixture of the shit show. It was a hot ass mess.
Right. Yes. Yep. It was strictly because, and the concept of it worked, but in actuality, the mission of a hospital corpsman is unlike any other. Like, we're jack of all trades. Then that's the way that we're trained. But, the Air Force is very specialized. Like, they got blood pressure techs. They have, this is all that they do. That's going to be a little bit facetious, but they're very specialized in what they do kind of out the gate. Whereas a corpsman, like, come out quad zero, bro, you can go to X-ray and work over there. That's true. Can literally be anywhere. So, and you think about being on a ship, the mission of a medical personnel on a ship is you and maybe another IDC. You got to know a lot as a baby doc. You can't just be like, oh, that ain't really my MOS. No, it's like, hey, we need you to be in here to do this. So There was a whole myriad of reasons why they ended up deconsolidating, but that was interesting to see. It talked about exercise and patience and everything else. Which I think the VA and the FHCC and Great Lakes kind of prepared me for with that merger that happened there, and being there pretty fresh afterwards was something.
Yep.
So yeah, that brought me here. And the crazy part is I retired in 2018. I actually made 04, but turned down the commission. And people say, well, why the world would you do that? And the answer is simple. Like, when you know. Like, it's not about a money thing. It's just, that it's time for you to step. And me, I had a very charmed, as I ran down the list of where I went, like, there wasn't any arduous duty. There wasn't anything crazy about duty stations or nothing like that. Again, going to Bahrain was as wild as it got. Again, that was a blessing. So, now granted, we worked. It was
We
it
sure
was what
did.
it was. But overall, no doubt, man. MHP for life. But but just coming here really gave us an opportunity to put roots down, let my kids finish high school, and then to begin to start to tapping into these entitlements. Going through TAPS class twice was beneficial. We have an outstanding DAV, active DAV program down here, where when it came time to separate and retire, I just kind of plugged in directly to the resources that were here at SAMC. San Antonio Military Medical Center is what SAMC stands for. And so they had a very robust program. A gentleman over there, Mr. Roy Dan Sheldon of the DAV here in San Antonio, phenomenal gentleman, like just very knowledgeable, very helpful when it came time to filing claims and doing all that. And so again, my experience, I know some people have a lot of horror stories and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm outside. I got all kind of trucks going by, but it was
you mentioned the DAV.
Beneficial.
So is that the people that helped you file your claims? You went through the DAV?
Yes. The Disabled Veterans of America. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I get letters and stuff from them. I haven't signed up with them. I don't know if it could benefit me now. But I do get letters from them, and I did want to do some research.
I would highly suggest using their service just for different things. And you can go on their website and see what all they offer, but there's a lot. There's a lot they do. They do a lot in terms of job fairs, career placement, helping you with resume stuff. It's just another resource for you. It's another set of eyes. It's another, just about everybody there that I talked to, was a veteran of some type. So, they have that experience that they're drawing from, and they're well connected. If there's not something that they can provide, they know of another organization. Since it's a nonprofit, they know of other organizations that may be in line. So they're a resource, if nothing else. They're very resourceful in helping you get the information that you need.
Okay, so I have a personal question. If you don't want to answer it, we could just say pass.
No, it's
and
all
we'll delete this
off.
section.
I ain't scared. No, I ain't
Getting
scared.
out. All right, so you got out.
Mm-hmm.
Did depression hit you once you got out and retired? And what did you do about it? Did you go to the VA? Did you get counseling? What did you do about your whole depression thing? Because I feel like everybody fucking goes through it when they get out.
True. So my depression, actually, my first bout of depression didn't start when I retired. It actually started at, you'll never guess, Great Mistakes. Good old Great Mistakes. And
that's where I got my first dose at.
Right? And so, and I know you're going to be able to relate to this. We moved to Great Lakes. Family was good. Kids were good. Like, life was good. But for the life of me, I just couldn't get it together. Like, I didn't feel right. And so I chalked it up to, okay, well, you just transferred from San Diego, where it's sunny 350 out of 365 days a year. It's perfect. I picked up a nasty golf habit while I was in San Diego. So moved to Chicago, and you can golf for about 5 months, 6 months, and then that's it. Like, it's too cold, it's windy, it's dark. So I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm just sad because I can't get outside more. But it was more than that. It was biological as well. Like, my vitamin D levels plummeted. I 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. That's what my value was. The range is like 30 up to like 90 or something.
We all got
so they put me on supplements.
They pills. All of us.
Yes. It's the thing, man. And I didn't understand. I'm like, well, I'm still outside or whatever. But during the wintertime, it's dark when you get to work. If you do leave at lunchtime, you got on 8 layers because it's cold. So you ain't really absorbing no sunlight, right? And then when you get off
Mhm.
work, it's dark again. So I'm like, you ain't really getting no sunshine. So I just kind of chalked it up to that and was like, once I went to Bahrain, I had so much going on. I really didn't have time to be depressed. I was sad, because I'm away from home and missing family and all. But I was so busy. I was like, I ain't got time to think about nothing but work. So I was like, I
You
was
depressed?
okay.
We got J-Co
Now
coming
we
up.
get
We ain't
to
got time for your depression. We got to get
say
these
that,
binders in check.
man. Oh, I'm gonna tell you what. And I gotta give another shout out. I gotta shout out Ruby Tennyson because she definitely looked out for me.
She, when
as
I say
much.
she looked out for me, they tore my ass up when she left. Because she used to save me through everything. They said, "Oh, she left?
Yeah,
Oh, Casada, let's give you this little DRB real
right.
quick." Yeah.
Oh man, so they pulled the
Uh-huh.
gloves off. So and I know a lot of people, felt some kind of way about her and her leadership or whatever. But when I tell you, for whatever reason, man, I could always go to her. She was always a resource, always very helpful to this day. Like I'll get a Facebook message from her every so often, and we'll just kind of touch base. But just good people. So I definitely appreciated her. But in terms of the depression, I get to I get to San Antonio. Again, life's good. I'm at my dream job. I always wanted to teach at core school. So I am super excited. I am very, very ready to be. I'm ready to retire. I know this is gonna be my twilight tour. I think what better way to go out? I can impart wisdom and pass along info to all my juniors. I can just pass along info. So when it came time, to put my papers in, I was very excited, all of that. My biggest source of anxiety, because that's what happened first. I got anxiety like real
Yeah.
bad. Where I couldn't sit still and I couldn't make sense of it because it wasn't that I was nervous about, fear or anything like that. It was mostly just the unknown. It was like how do you know everything's going to be okay? I know what I've been making financially, and what's that going to look like after the fact? And I would talk to many people that have retired. They're like, man, trust me, you're going to be fine. Make sure you get your disability rating. So I started working on my disability stuff. And so it's so funny because, as you know, as a corpsman, we oftentimes would chastise and ridicule people like, oh, it's a sick call commando. Oh, this person's always here at medical,
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 blah. And then when it came time to retire, I remember it used to be a thing where we used to brag about, man, look how thin my medical record is. Man, look how thick yours,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah. Like
Yes.
we used to, get on people about that, right? In hindsight, I have met a lot of them same people asking me about disability ratings now. And I'm like, that thin medical record ain't worked out for
Not
you
with
after
that
all.
thin ass
And
record.
man, so in documentation was everything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
disability rating came back and we were good to go. But the thing that really the anxiety it was troubling for me because I couldn't I didn't know why. Why am I anxious? I'm excited to retire. I had a job lined up. I was already teaching at the local college here. So I was gonna get hired on full time once I retired. So money wasn't gonna be an issue. I was like, if I get disability, cool. If I don't get it, cool. I'm not overly concerned about it. It's gonna be okay. But just that unknown. And I'm gonna tell you the thing that the depression came after I had retired and the realization, the thing that I was so excited about, nobody's going to be looking for me. I got freedom. I got autonomy. I don't have to muster. I got none of this stuff, right? That was the exact thing that actually really gave me depression. It went from, yes,
Yes.
nobody's looking
Yes.
for me to, oh my God, nobody cares about me. Nobody gives a rip whether I don't have to tell nobody where I'm going. I don't have to ask for permission to leave the state like nobody cares. And I I didn't think that was going to be an issue. I didn't think that was going to be a problem, but it was. It absolutely was. And now, as I come to this realization, looking back on it now, I try to give people as much of a heads up as possible. I try to tell them like, look, you're going to go through these things. You're going to feel things that are going to be foreign. It's just about change. It's that change brings about that anxiety, and that anxiety is just your body and your mind. Typically, I found now that I retired, anxiety is always worrying about something in the future for me that has not even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Depression always comes for me when I start thinking about the past, trying to fix something from before. And I tell my daughter all the time, we don't have a DeLorean. And if we did have a DeLorean, we ain't got a flux capacitor. If we did have a flux capacitor, we ain't got no plutonium or 1.21 gigawatts. We can't go back in time. right? So you may as well stay right here where you're at. So but that hit real hard, and I was on medication. I was on like Wellbutrin, and they had like tried some other things, and I was staunchly opposed to it. And that's how I knew that something was really off, when I was like, yeah, I don't care. I need something. I need something to raise my floor, because
Hmm.
I'm not myself. And I could see it was showing up in my marriage. I could see it was showing up with the way I was parenting my kids, and I've noticed things in my kids now, and it made me better to kind of recognize those things going through that. But that was rough. That transition, as joyous of an occasion as it was, because a lot of people think, oh, you're retiring, like it's not gonna be that bad, like you're gonna draw a retirement check, this kind of stuff, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but you got to know that money only fixes money problems. They say, money don't give you
Hmm.
happiness, which I get. It can buy a lot of things to make you happy, which I get. It can eliminate a lot of problems that would make you sad, but money itself doesn't make you happy. But money only fixes money problems. So it wasn't like a money issue. It was just, and it wasn't even a belonging thing. People say, man, I left active duty. I didn't have a sense of belonging, or I didn't have that camaraderie. I had a pretty good support system. Like, I still have a really good support system. I have guys that I came in the Navy with, as I said earlier, that I'm still friends with to this day. First duty station over 25 years ago. We talk, if not daily or not weekly, almost every day, in some form or fashion, whether it's text message or something, group text, whatever. So I've always had that bond and that association, which only made it harder for me to square. Why you feel like this? Like, what the heck is going on? But you just have
Yeah.
to give yourself some grace. Yeah, it's a big change. It's everything you've been used to and accustomed to for 21 years is now not applicable anymore. So now you got to find out what your new normal is going to be, and that's really an adjustment for a lot of people. It definitely was for me.
So I wanted to talk really quick. I don't know if it's for all officers or it's because you were enlisted prior and you did officer, but
Mhm.
you're offered the GI Bill. Is it because you were enlisted before,
Yeah,
or all officers get the GI Bill?
I think I think everybody gets the GI Bill, if I'm not mistaken. I know I had it. So
Mhm.
let me not misspeak. Talk to your local recruiter. They can probably, or your career counselor. They can probably tell you better than I can. But I know
I don't want to
that
go near
I
that
know that
damn
I got it.
office.
This is for your audience. This ain't for you. This is for somebody who tuned in, who's curious about what my benefits are going to be on active duty. Your local officer recruiter can definitely fill you in on that. But I definitely had it. So I used my GI Bill for my BSN program. So when I got picked up for MECEP, Medical Enlisted Commissioning Program, I was the first class, and I chose that program because you are on the hook to pay for school, but they give you your full pay and allowances the entire time you're in school. And you don't, I mean, that's your job. They give you a UIC that's assigned to a local, I was assigned to the Reserve Center in Pensacola. So, but that was just
Mhm.
for administrative purposes only. I didn't muster with them. I did a PRT with them twice a year. That was it. So I I did the MECEP program, but I did have to pay for school. So I used the GI Bill, which covered at that time, thankfully, school wasn't that expensive, but it covered about 90% of it. So we didn't really have to come out of pocket. But because I had that house that I told you about in Jacksonville that we had to try to rent out, I was spending a lot of money trying to maintain two households, essentially. I was paying two mortgages, or rent and mortgage and all that. So that caused a lot of stress, but the GI Bill definitely helped. I picked up a job. So I was working, I was going to school, I was using my GI Bill. You can't use tuition assistance or anything like that on that program. But I
Mhm.
used up probably 80% of my GI Bill, and I ended up using the rest of it to complete my master's. Once I actually started that at Great Lakes, at Grand Canyon University, and then I did the bulk of it while in Bahrain. Again, was like going to school, going to work. Just I didn't have time to be depressed. I was like, I'm gonna just fill my calendar with stuff so that I don't have to worry about anything. But just every day I wake up, what I need to do today, cool, let's do that, and then on to the next. But definitely the GI Bill helped out with that. And then once I finished my master's and I retired, I started looking for other avenues or other entitlements. Like, hey, if it's out there and it's available to be used, I would be pretty silly not to.
So now that you say that, you are using vocational rehab?
Absolutely. I am actively using the Voc Rehab program, Chapter 31. I did, and that came about. So I was working at the school, teaching at nursing school for, I taught, oh man, probably about 6 years. I retired in 2018. What is this? 2024. So I worked there for, man, like 6 years. So 4 years after I retired, 2 years before that. And it just got to a point where whenever you're in a space where you don't feel like you're valued or like the things you bring to the table aren't being received well, and I don't even necessarily mean by the students. I think I had a lot of respect from a lot of my students. It was just, like, the staff. It was an organization that was growing, and I just didn't like. I didn't feel they were growing the right way proportionately. I think they were more bent on expanding wide than actually, building quality depth wise with instructors and resources and things like that. So we're just kind of at an impasse. So last December, my daughter was actually going through some things as well. So I stopped working at the college, and I was like, I just need to take a break. I didn't, and this is very important for those that are transitioning. It's so important. And for me, I put a higher priority on making sure my finances were straight. And a lot of people think the same way, but do not just cast aside, your mental health. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm not suicidal, so I'm okay. Like, no. Make sure that you're operating at an optimal level. Make sure that you're creating time for yourself. You have that downtime, because after 21 years of being told where to go, what to do, when to be there, how to be there, all of that, to not have that anymore, there's an adjustment period. And so I needed some time off. So I took off pretty much from January all the way until October. And I was on a kind of a quest for self-improvement, so I've always felt that I was a nurse. I have two younger brothers that I was, I babysat as a kid. Well, we never got a babysitter. I was the babysitter. I'm 7 years older than the next brother and 9 years older than my baby brother. So I was changing diapers and all that. I felt like I've always been a nurse. It wasn't anything. I've always felt that I had a really good ear for listening as well. I've always been more of a listener than a talker. You wouldn't know that by the way I'm rambling today, but I promise you, I'm an introvert. Like I like to observe.
Let me look at the camera. He a good listener.
Kind of listen. Right. So I've always been good with like active listening and kind of giving people their space and giving them just an honest feedback. I'm not real big on giving advice. I always tell you, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can tell you what I think about in that situation, but that's merely it. So life coaching was something that I didn't know much about at all. But as you take these surveys, whether it's, Myers-Briggs or a lot of these assessments to tell you do this in TAPS a lot. Hey, what kind of personality you have? What kind of job will be good for this type of personality or anagram? I'm always in the teaching, counselor, whatever. That's always my realm. I'm an INFJ for any of the Myers-Briggs people out there. So, that's always been a particular point of interest for me. So I got into life coaching because I saw, once I found out what it was, and life coaching, to kind of boil it down, is all about helping people achieve their goals. And it's not about giving advice. It's not about telling them what they should do, because it's kind of based on the premise that everybody you talk to, they're the expert of the problem that they're going through, because they are the problem. Like, and I don't mean that bad wise or nothing, but everything that you got that's going on, it was created through your lens, your perspective from your life. So the answer is going to be found just there as well. So life coaching oftentimes is just knowing which questions to ask them to unlock the answers that they already have. So it's very much a skill. You use your active listening skills. You use all of that. So it really it was a hand to glove type situation. So I'm like, you know what? This is something I can do on my own. I can definitely, start to establish. Me and my friend that you had met, Mr. Lewis Streb, we started RN Educators before we both of us retired. So it was just an extension of doing what we were doing for the school. We wanted to do it for ourselves, and we wanted to educate. We were nurses, both masters prepared and all that. So we felt that we had a resource that we could definitely provide people. So in doing that, I felt that this is another extension of we can use that platform, now for life coaching. So I started seeing individuals. I started helping local businesses here in the community with their organization. Being a former nurse, being a clinic manager, I have a lot of students that have now graduated and are now working, and I'm a mentor for them. I'm a life coach for them, and they can kind of tell me, hey, this is the problem or something that we're working on, and we kind of work through that. And I wear dual hats because I'll do the life coaching side of it, but I also give my a mentorship perspective on it as well. So going back to how I got how I got into the voc rehab. Just I was on the VA page looking for entitlements. I saw like the education things. I saw the stuff that was available for my kids. But then when I found out about voc rehab, and because I wasn't actively working at the time, they were like, "Yeah, you're actually a pretty good candidate." Once I filled out the questionnaire, someone called from the VA and like, "Yeah, it sounds like you're a pretty good candidate. Tell us more about a program that you're looking at." I was like, "Well, I'm looking at a life coaching certification, and there's all kinds of small businesses out there that will put on a life coaching program, but the VA only accepts programs that are accredited by a university or college, like an institution."
Yeah.
So I started looking around at colleges, and thankfully I got my master's from Grand Canyon University, and they actually had a life coaching program. It's a part of their master's of psychology with a specialty in life coaching. And I already had a master's in nursing, so I didn't want another master's, but I did want to gain the eligibility to take the certification test. And by completing this program, I'm allowed to do that. So I'm not only a certificate of completion from the master's program, because all I took was the last 4 classes of that master's program since I already had a master's. So they were allowing me to do that. I'm in the class 404 right now. I'll finish that one in 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks left, inshallah.
Okay.
So,
that's awesome.
But I'm super, super excited about that. Yes. And that I honestly believe I hadn't even finished the life coaching program, honestly, when I found a contracting job on it was on USA Job, but I actually had an in for a friend of mine that worked for this company before. And pretty much we do the job is doing consolidation or standardization.
I'm getting real
tired. So if you think about
of these connections and these little networking shit you got going on here. Yeah, that was my friend that helped me out.
That's what this platform is
all
about. It's
Can I get a job?
Definitely the networking is definitely yes, you can. Right price, you can absolutely get that. but that's kind of how it works out. And I've learned, I've always heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and all of that. And that is very much true. So applying for that job, medical standardization, if you just think about it, if you go to Bahrain, we using the same syringes that they're probably using in Balboa, that they're saying, the same IVs and stuff. Sometimes we may be ordering from the same place, but at the time, everybody's ordering individually. So you're not getting a discount or anything like that on the cost. Well, this company that I work for, we work with the government to standardize all medical equipment. So whether you're ordering from San Antonio or San Diego or Diego Garcia, like the goal is that everybody's ordering from the same manufacturer, so we get a better price, rinse and repeat, different projects on and on and on. So that had nothing to do with life coaching, but you're dealing with people. Like my coworkers, they're people. My bosses, they're people. Whatever. And so I can still use the life coaching aspect of it. I don't charge them, but for me, it's an outstanding opportunity to, one, get to know my coworkers better, and then be able to offer this resource to them as a friend, as a coworker, or something like that. So who knows? It's a contract. So once this contract is up, because it's known that I'm a life coach, that's going to open up all kind of doors in this company and other companies that may be looking for somebody to come on just to do that for their personnel. Burnout is a big thing. Stress, stress management, all that's very, very big in the employment world, in the employment sector. So it just really opened up a lot of doors for me. So I'm excited about getting the certification and just seeing, what all I can do with it.
Yeah, it could be that you already knew what you wanted to do. And for me, vocational rehab right now, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. So my counselor is a asshole, and I'm pretty sure he won't see my podcast. So you an asshole. But I don't know. Everybody has different experiences with vocational rehab, but I'm glad it's going really well with you. I'm still on the fence because I don't want to quit my job. He wants me to go to school full time. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. So, yeah.
So as I tell everybody, and that's my wheelhouse. So I specialize in college level students. Those are the bulk of my clients are college level students because time management it kills, especially in nursing school. The problem is there's a couple of problems. First problem being on the brochure when they tell you, oh yeah, you can go to school full time and do these, go to school and work and do all this stuff. Yeah, not really. Not really.
Yeah.
Not and be successful. Like not in sleep well, not and do all these other things. Um, not and be a full time mom and wife and aunt. Like you're gonna miss birth. You're just gonna be a lot of things that are gonna come up. It's gonna make it tough. So I tell them that you can do these things, but you got to have a realistic plan. You're not gonna haphazardly. Things aren't just gonna come together because there's a level of requirement. So the first thing is if you're not financially able to do that, to drop working and go to school full time, then look at programs that allow you to go part time. So, a lot of times we set our eyes on, oh my God, I got to be able to graduate or finish by this time, or I got to be able to complete by a certain date or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have my GI
so
Bill
as long as that's not the
100%.
issue,
It was just like, damn, vocational rehab approved me, but not the way they want me to
right?
go about it.
Okay, and definitely knowing what you want to do, especially depending on where you're at in your thought. Like if you're like, healthcare, I kind of did that. I want to get away something completely different. That may take a little bit more research. But if it's like, no, I want to do something I'm already familiar with, or like if you've already got some college done, then it's a little bit more difficult because now I need to focus in on what I want to major in. But if you haven't gotten any college, then I should start. The road to being a doctor, lawyer, whatever starts with English 101, starts with math 101. Yep. Like you got to get those basic classes done and out the way. So while you figure it out, and there's something that magical that happens while you're in these classes, you'll meet other people who don't know what they're going to do, or maybe they do. And they open your eyes to a possibility of, man, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a profession. Or, you talk to the instructors or the teachers, or you just look at the campus building, like, oh, the Department of Engineering, Department of Marketing. Like I didn't know that was a thing. And you start to talk to people who are in that major. And, well, what are you planning to do with that? So the secret is always in the work. That's where all the answers are found. You talk to a farmer, they say the secret's in the dirt. Once you get your hands in the dirt, you actually start doing the work. That's when a lot of the things come to you. So just continue to move. I don't really do advice, but I would say continue to move in the direction that your heart's pulling you into. If it don't feel right to you, it don't feel right for a reason. Everybody's on their own personal journey in search of their personal legend. There's a great book I recommend. You'll hear me recommend a couple books. The Alchemist is one that is amazing because it talks about just being on a journey, and everybody has something that they're called to do. And as anybody listening to this will probably relate, if you find yourself sitting in that office or, you're at work, doing whatever it is you're doing, and you're just like, man, I'm thankful. I got gratitude, but this ain't it. Like there's something more that I'm supposed to do. Listen to that. Especially if you know what it is that you're like, okay, cool. I've always had a desire to run my own childcare facility, whatever that is, right? It's going to gnaw at you. Until you are actively in pursuit of that, it's omen, sign. Things are going to continue to show up. It's going to remind you. You're going to keep seeing billboards for a childcare center. Every commercial is going to have something to do with kids. Like you're going to continue to see this, and it's going to eat at you until you actually start on that journey. And you'll be amazed at the doors that start to open when you're in pursuit of that. So I just say pay attention. And while you wait, while we're waiting, just keep an eye out for those signs, for those omens, and listen to your heart. I know that's cliche, and we're like, what do you mean listen? You'll know.
I was about to start singing that song. Listen to your heart. Who sings that?
I don't know. I was thinking of.
All right, so let's start closing in.
Push your teeth. If you know, you know. Okay.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast today. Like, I really, really appreciate it. I will definitely speak to you offline sometime this week. I need some guidance, some mentorship. Oh, for sure. A lot going on over here, but it ain't everybody's business. You. So we gonna have to talk on the phone. But you guys, if this
thank you for letting me be a part of the experience.
Definitely, definitely. So if this resonates with you guys, please subscribe, please share. If this could help somebody, if you're going through a nursing program, reach out. He's very, very knowledgeable in the nursing sector, and now he's doing life coach, which is absolutely amazing. I will be using his services for free. But yes, I will be using his services.
Here we go.
But you guys have a great night and be sure to tune in every Tuesday. I'll be releasing a new video until we'll see. But for right now, it's every Tuesday. I will be releasing a video. And yeah, you guys have a great day.